Okay, welcome to Book 6 of Plato's The Republic. And in Book 6, we get to learn about a little bit of Plato's epistemology. Yeah, we get to know how he thinks people can acquire knowledge and what types of knowledge we can acquire. And there are different types, as we shall see. But firstly, he points out that only philosophers, you might have noticed he has a very high opinion of philosophers, which is why they're right at the top of his hierarchy. Only philosophers grasp the eternal and unchangeable nature of existence, And I want you to think of this as the world of being. Some of you might have already watched, I hope, some of my lessons on the pre-Socratic philosophers. And in those lessons, you should be able to really see that they were very concerned with the many and the one. And Plato is certainly also concerned with this question. Does the one come from the many? Does the many come from the one? Now, that's not precisely what we're dealing with here, but we saw that in many of the pre-Socratic philosophers. And we also saw that they very often described a world of being, which was eternal and unchangeable, and a world of becoming, which was full of change. It's the real world, you might say, that you see around you. You might put it like that. And it all depends whether you're Parmenides or whether you're Heraclitus, which one you think is the real world, And we looked at that in the pre-Socratic philosophers. But Plato has some ideas about this as well. And Socrates, in Plato's Republic, explains that only philosophers grasp the eternal and unchangeable. Non-philosophers wander in the many and the variable, in this world of becoming, in this world of eternal change and conflict as well, because it's always divided, whereas this eternal and unchangeable world is always unified and one. And so the philosopher is a lover of all true being, and that means not a lover of one part, the many and the variable, but a lover of the whole, And you hear this idea repeated very often by Socrates. He explains, and I find this questionable, they will never intentionally receive into their mind falsehood, because they detest falsehood, There is a hatred of lies in the philosopher. And it does make me wonder why we have already spoken about two different lies that we have to use in the ideal state for the ideal state to thrive. We heard about the Phoenician lie, the noble Phoenician lie, and we also heard about that ingenious lottery, which was a lie in order to make sure that people didn't rebel when, some people didn't rebel when they realised that the Guardians had classed them as too inferior to reproduce, And so we've had some rather crafty lies in the Republic, and I think that that's certainly something which Plato needs to defend himself against, because obviously he's open to that criticism. Anyway, he's not a lover of bodily pleasures, which, and you can think of bodily pleasures as many and variable again, but of pleasures of the soul. Now, you might see pleasures of the soul as many or variable, but Plato doesn't. He sees these pleasures of the soul in some kind of way as eternal and unchangeable when compared to bodily pleasures. And of course, you can see how bodily pleasures are transitory, they always have an end, whereas these pleasures of the soul, you might understand how they might be eternal, you might understand that there are some things which people enjoy, which they feel as though these things are eternal in some way, maybe mathematics or science as well, and we're going to talk a little bit about geometry soon. Okay, so the true philosopher is not fearful of death, These are very rare individuals that we're talking about. They